Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony Carcamo with Civil CAD Learning Solutions, and I'm also the president of the DFW BIM Infrastructure User Group here in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the Autodesk Expert Elite Earth webcam video podcast series. So we have two guests today. We have Rachel Hartley and Adam Menter. So I want to go ahead and introduce y'all to you. If y'all want to give your introduction and what you do in Autodesk.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us, Tony, today. Really excited to be here. My name's Rachel Hartley, and I'm the program manager for the new Autodesk Group Network. So we founded this new network to support our global user groups at Autodesk worldwide across all our industries and products. So it launched last November. I joined Autodesk full-time July 2019, and previously I was an intern. So I've actually been with Autodesk for almost 2.5 years now. So it's been really unique stepping into this program management role and working with Adam to co-build the Autodesk Group Network. So I'll hand it off to Adam.
Great.
Hey, I'm Adam Menter. I've been working at Autodesk for about 10 years. I think my title now is something like Senior Program Manager for Community Innovations. So as Rachel was mentioning, last year we built the Group Network program, and that was a wonderful experience to work with Rachel to do that. My projects at Autodesk have ranged from building websites to help people learn about sustainable design, to doing consulting with product teams about sustainable design product features. I sort of started at Autodesk working on sustainable design. And then from that point, I got into learning. And then that really has been the thrust of my career for the past 5 years or so, working on learning, and then learning got me into community.
Yep. Okay, so I have some personal questions here. All right, so hopefully I can answer. So first question is, what made you decide to join Autodesk? At what point did you pivot, I guess, in your career? If you want to, Rachel, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. So I guess Autodesk has been the launch of my career, actually. So I graduated from Ohio State University in May of 2019. So Autodesk has been my first position out of university. And, I'm from Ohio originally, and I had this dream to be in San Francisco. I was like, I want to be in San Francisco. I've never been, I've never visited. I was like, I want to get into software tech. I had no idea what that meant. And I met Stephen Hooper at one of our global summits that we had on campus. And he was giving, a presentation about, the work of Autodesk and the way that we're making software and, building a better world. And, it just really, captured me, and I was like, I want to work for Autodesk. So I continued to seek out an internship, and my experience with the community team during my internship is what really solidified it. It was a global team. We were working on directly with our customers, and I felt that I was having like a direct impact on all of our customers. So it definitely solidified that that's where I wanted to start my career path at.
So what do you recall your first week at Autodesk? What was your first task? Do you remember, what you were doing the very first week you got hired?
So the first week I was hired, I honestly was trying to learn what our software did. Honestly, I was just like, what are all of these products, and how am I gonna remember all of them, and let alone engage with our customers? So I have a marketing background, and this was just honestly way over my head at first. I was like, what is this world that I am stepping into? And so I remember making flashcards. Actually, I had flashcards of all of our products and, what they did, who they served, the industries that they were in. And I was just quizzing myself the first week.
Cool. All right, Adam, do you want to kind of tell your background? What made you decide to join Autodesk?
Sure. So prior to Autodesk, I was working at a design strategy firm. Okay. And so it's the type of a company that does research on issues in the world and customer needs, and then works with clients to develop new products, kind of like IDEO, if you're familiar with that type of a company. And I have a mechanical engineering degree, so a bit more of a technical background than Rachel, but I hadn't really worked as an engineer.
Yeah.
And at Jump, in working in design, I was really interested in sustainable design, and at the same time, I was getting a little sick of consulting, where what happens in consulting projects is you like work your butt off,
Yeah.
you like throw it over the fence, and then nothing ever happens often with the client company. So like I wanted to actually work at a place where I could build things and and put strategy into practice, and that's been the case with my career at Autodesk. I've enjoyed being able to kind of straddle strategy and practice, and also be able to use some of my mechanical engineering background. And so yeah, it's but the specific story of me joining Autodesk was a former colleague of mine, Don Danby, who was a really good friend through the Sustainability Network in the Bay Area, hired me on as a contractor. I was a contractor for 3 years before I was a full-time employee, and she was one of the first people on the sustainability team at Autodesk, which has since become a much larger team, and now there's a whole Autodesk Foundation.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Rachel. Do y'all get to travel a little? If so, what was the most memorable travel location you've been to? Other than AU.
Yeah, no, AU is fantastic. But I actually recently, for the Autodesk Group Network and our community team, I did a world tour, actually right before the pandemic hit. So I was traveling from January to the middle of February, went to 9 different countries and all of our different Autodesk offices. I think the most memorable was definitely my time in Moscow. So I met with our community manager, Lena, in Moscow, and met the entire Moscow office and team, and our set of expert elites that were there, as well as our group leaders. So we had a huge get together with all of us, but then it was celebrating the new year. So for the entire office, we had a New Year celebration, and they just kind of swept me in like I was just one of their colleagues, that I had been working with them forever. And we had a cook-off, and we made, an Italian dinner and desserts and singing and dancing. And it was just definitely, felt like I was at home. When I was leaving that office, I was like, wow, I was just going to miss everyone that I had met within just, 3 days. So that was fantastic.
Moscow is actually on my bucket list in my top 5 to go to Moscow, to go somewhere, so I haven't left the United States yet. So
you have to get out there. And it was beautiful for the new year, especially. The entire town was lit up. So they had, you come out of the underground subway, and there was an ice skate rink right in front of the Kremlin, and music going, and you could go get hot chocolates, and it was just vibrant.
It was magical.
So, yeah, it was really magical. So definitely most memorable.
How about you, Adam?
I haven't traveled as much in my role. It's, Rachel is lucky. She kind of, within her first week or first year, she got to go pretty much all around the world and go to all these offices. I was able to join her in India, which was great. Yeah. Maybe we'll tell some more stories about that later. But in terms of like work highlights traveling, Tony, you mentioned AU. AU actually is a pretty big highlight for me every year. I feel like I'm kind of with my people there in terms of hanging out with the customers. Tony, I think that's where I met you at AU, and hanging out at the parties there. So that's always fun. But when I was on the sustainability team, I did get to travel and visit schools. So going into classrooms, working with students, that the time that I was able to do that was really nice.
That's pretty much my world tour. What other place can you go and mingle with 60, 70, 80 different countries, designers and architects and engineers? I mean, to me, that's my highlight so far almost of my life, other than my daughter, but that's my highlight, is going to EU and mingling with, networking with people across the world. I think it's just amazing, So, okay, what's some hobbies y'all have? People may not know what y'all's hobbies are. There's something you enjoy doing, with others, some friends, or just by yourself. Like,
Yeah, well, I guess
I'm a
I'll,
comic book collector. I actually, most people don't, but I actually collect comic books. So, and I enjoy movies and stuff like that. And I'm big into learning different types of software. So how about yourself?
yeah, well, for me, I would definitely say I'm a fitness guru. I love anything, fitness wise, working out, lifting, CrossFit, yoga, getting really big into that. Also water sports. So I love like my happy places being out on the water. So I took this time, during the quarantine to go wake surf and wakeboard and just get back out on the water. So anything that is like thrill seeking and adventurous, you can count me on it. I'll be doing handstands on a cliff in Cape Town or, wherever I'm at. So I like to push the edge a bit. So that's why I love doing physical activities and sports, because it brings out my competitive side. And it's just definitely, it's where you can find me outside of work.
I've actually done 3 Spartan events. You have those obstacle
Ooh.
courses and stuff. I've done
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 of the Beast, the 13-mile one. So that's a beating.
Yeah, that's on my list to do.
You paying $250 to kick your own butt for like 4 hours. So
I know, and I think it would be awesome to be on Ninja Warrior. I've like always looked at those, and my inner gymnast comes out where I'm like, oh, I would so kill that. Like I could go and tackle all of those obstacles. So yeah, that's fun.
yeah, the Autodesk needs to send a representative.
Yeah, right. There we go. That's one thing I love. Yeah, Autodesk has like a huge sports culture, and so we have a ton of different teams. Like I played in a softball tournament. I was supposed to this summer be in Barcelona playing in our huge football soccer tournament that we have, where we take all of Autodesk employees worldwide and bring them into a single tournament with different locations each year. So I'm hoping next year that we'll be able to do that, because that was something I was really looking forward to.
Okay, cool. How about you, Adam?
Rachel was mentioning sports at Autodesk. I recently signed up for a basketball league here. I live in France actually right now. So they're playing basketball amidst COVID. I think the last time I had played basketball was at an Autodesk basketball tournament back when Carl Bass was the CEO. He would always go and host, and I think that was the first time I met him, was when I had to guard him on the court. He's pretty good actually at basketball. And that, at AU, he'd always host pickup games and stuff. But it had been like 5 or 6 years since I'd actually played. It's been good to get back into it.
That's cool that they have leagues and stuff like that. So internally, so that's some good stuff. So, all right. So let's talk about the new Autodesk user network group. How did that come about? You want to kind of explain how that came about? Creating the group and the community.
Yeah, I think, Adam, I'll let you kick off on the history of it, because you, I think, have been within this environment longer than, I'll step in and after that.
Yeah. So there's been a long history of user groups associated with Autodesk since the beginning of the company. What had happened was Autodesk itself had sort of lost the relationships with all the local user groups all around the world. And Augie, we had historically had a relationship with Augie that was managing local user groups. Augie, a couple years ago in 2018, decided that local user groups wasn't part of their strategic priorities going forward. So so that sort of left the space to create this program. So we've been building it for the past year and a half or so, trying to kind of work with the energy that's already out there. There was already hundreds of groups all around the world, and the landscape of user group has changed a lot in the past 5-10 years, and there's a lot more online groups now. People are blending digital and physical modes of connecting, but how user groups came up as something that was important for Autodesk to invest in was through actually a lot of the research. So I mentioned that I did design research prior to coming to Autodesk. So when I shifted gears to move from the sustainability team into basically learning group within Autodesk, we did a bunch of research to try to understand how customers learn and what's the most effective to help them be successful with our software. And time again, community came up as the most important thing that helped people actually be successful with the software and inspired them to do new things and built relationships. And specifically with communities of practice was something that we dove into. And user groups was kind of the form that stuff was happening in the world. So it became a priority for us to rebuild those relationships with those groups. And because a lot of the people that are leading those user groups are, industry innovators, technology innovators, the design technologists that are kind of creating the future, and that Autodesk needs to have really strong relationships with to continue to innovate and be relevant.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that. So with the official launch of the Autodesk Group Network, we launched it in November 2019, but Adam and I started working on it in January of 2019. So in rebuilding the user group program, it was important for us that we weren't just designing this program completely separate from our group leaders who had been doing this work for decades. So it was really unique to be able to work one-on-one with these leaders around the world doing research, understanding, how do you want Autodesk to support you in this work, so that we were designing a program for them and not like to them or making them become a part of it, so that it was actually really valuable. So, now, our purpose is that we can connect people in community so that they can share knowledge and collaborate across firms and industries to ultimately improve the use of design technology and make a better world. So in creating the Autodesk Group Network, we're really trying to understand how can we underpin this community with the right tools and resources so that it's easier for them to manage and grow those communities, reach personal, professional goals, connect and collaborate. So a lot of really, really exciting things. And I think it can be very, very powerful moving forward as people are looking to engage in the community in new ways.
Yeah, I could give you my experience. When I first came to Dallas, 2006, I joined a user group that was hosted by a reseller. So 2006 through 2000, I would say 2010, 11, there were several user groups, Civil 3D or AutoCAD user groups in DFW. But then it started fading away. The resellers, started cutting out the user group programs, and eventually there was none. There was no user group. So I actually got a little bit of self training of these user groups. These are really good, powerful experts, industry experts teaching and giving tips and tricks on the software. So I attended those for years, and then after they disappeared, and I later became a cabinet manager in different companies I was at. I eventually decided to start my own user group and started bringing it back. So in 2016, I started the DFW BIM infrastructure user group, and we had small network events, but we really focus on training. So I created a all-day training event with multiple instructors. I invited almost all the same instructors that go teach at AU. I invited them to Autodesk User Group Network group, and Autodesk was there. They were one of the sponsors, and it was just me creating this whole group. I think there was 36 classes going on, 7 breakout rooms, and we had it at the Irving Convention Center. So it was a second job, because I was doing all the sponsorships and scheduling, getting the speakers and everything in the rooms and stuff. So it was pretty intense, but it was worth it, because a lot of the people, the attendees that attended, loved it. Said, hey, this is great, it's back. So I've kind of kept up with it. I typically do training events, not just weekly or events. My last one, we've had one in another hotel, another one. We try to get one at a local university, but we had some scheduling conflicts. So I'm trying to branch out to universities now. But I think it's awesome. I actually joined the user group, got Autodesk user group on there. I got an admin group on there. So, and we actually have another good friend of mine, Tom Richardson. He's got his user group with Adam Riley down in Austin. So I think it's great. We network together. We almost have the same attendees. So, but I think it's amazing that we kind of got this group back and we got our own platform. So I think it's great. So how about the Dojo? Y'all want to kind of talk a little bit about the Dojo?
Yeah, most definitely. So we just launched the Community Dojo, which we're really excited about. It's been Not, I guess a little bit of a long time coming. When we started forming the Autodesk Group Network, we were really being reactive to how could we support the existing needs and what group leaders were telling us that they needed. And through that, we were learning that people want more tips on like how to revitalize their user group community, or how can they continue managing it better, and how can we source that knowledge from all the people that have the experience doing it. So the Community Dojo is our first proactive project to be able to bring together that knowledge in one central place. So ultimately, our goal is to spread insights and best practices across groups, and also foster new relationships between our group leaders. So the Dojo has, the heart of it are the 6 best practice resource guides on how to get started, starting a user group, how to manage your group over time, tips on hosting events, whether that's physical or online, and even company practice groups as people start to want to start a user group within their companies and not necessarily cross company or firms. And so, yeah, it's really great. It holds all of that knowledge that are sourced by our contributors. Tony, you're one of them. So it's been really great. We met, about weekly as we started actually writing all of the best practice guides. But we can also, source people to connect with you for specifically, hosting physical events, because you're definitely an expert in that. It also has a lot of tools and resources. So if you're a part of the group network, there's specific access to resources that you can receive on behalf of the group network.
I think it's amazing. Definitely not an expert on it, but I've learned from experience. I wish there was this was around when I first started the group, because when I first started, it took me forever to get all the process down, what the steps I should be going through to set up a big training event. Like I said, I didn't have anything to go, so I actually lost like $3,000 in my own pocket getting that first network group going, but it didn't, deter me from doing another one. So I actually went and did another one, and I lost money on that one too, but it wasn't as much. I was learning from each progress, each one I was doing. Eventually, I was making a little money for my time, but that's not the goal. Is to make money. The goal is to not to lose money, but host a great event for all the attendees and stuff. So yeah, I really wish there was something in my time when I was doing this networking agreement. But I think this is amazing. Adam, you want to?
Yeah, I can build on that a little bit. I think one of the things, a lot of the people that are leading user groups, they're practitioners in the software, they're design technologists, they're CAD managers, they're architects, they're engineers. They're not trained in community management and, marketing and social media and all these things. And so when we went out and talked to all these user groups as part of our process of starting, we noticed, when groups are working well, there's like this really authentic momentum, relationships are building, but groups change over time, and groups, leaders transition. So that's like a critical part of a group, like how to manage those types of things. And so there's like, the core magic of the group is just getting the people together to geek out so that they can learn from each other and inspire each other. And so with the group network program, we tried to like put in systems and benefits that make everything that's not that as easy as possible, so that like it's as easy as possible for group leaders to host those spaces, and just do what they got into it to do in the first place, which is learn from each other, build relationships. So try to make the boring parts easier. But along the way, it's a lot of the value that folks are getting from groups is having confidence to lead, and having confidence to host spaces and host events, and just making that stuff a little bit easier, giving people scaffolding to get into it, and giving people support. I think that's one of the key things about the dojo, and one of the reasons why we chose that name, is that really it's yes, there's best practice guides on there. There's bullet points of tips and checklists and things like that, but it's also the intent behind it is to learn that stuff through practice, and to learn that stuff with other people. And so, it's not just the resources, it's the people that are maintaining those resources, and also available to connect with and support people that are trying to do cool things in the community.
Yep, definitely. Where do you see the platform going, or, you know, the network user group going in 5-10 years? Where do you see it? Now, I know there might be an NDA, you might know in the future already. Don't worry, the Autodesk Secret Service won't show up, you know, and come and take y'all away. But what do you expect the platform to be in 5-10 years? You know, is it going to evolve? Is it going to be kind of get a larger group, but it won't evolve? You know, where do you think, do you see it, foresee it?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of power. No, it's good. I think there's a lot of power in the nature of user groups and the type of work that people can come together to do. So, you know, it's not just meeting up and having a beer once a month and, you know, talking with friends. Yes, that's a fun part of it, but the power, I think, in how we can learn from the work that people are doing within user groups as they are trying to transform industries. And I think you know, in the next 5 years, as we understand this type of work better that's happening in the conversations that are taking place in these user communities, how, you know, that can inform and be a part of how we build tools to support that and to listen. So I think the stronger connections we can be making there with our product teams, you know, throughout Autodesk, and how more people, you know, not just our community team. I think we're really good at connecting with our customers and talking and listening, the good and the bad. But how do we take that as a movement and spread that across Autodesk, and the heart of it, you know, being centered with these user-led user groups.
Rachel,
I think, oh, Adam, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to kind of prompt her to build on that with some specific stories from some cool stuff that she's done.
Oh, yeah.
I think, Rachel, I think it'd be cool if you told them about how you connected group leaders to the strategic Foresight team at Autodesk.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty cool story, and the type of interaction we want to do more of. And also I think the event you went to with Thornton Tomasetti and the user groups over on the East Coast was, I think, another example of like an amazing space that like multiple groups got together to host to drive innovation. Like those are the types of you know, things that we want to try to support and amplify. But like,
so that with the strategic Foresight team, so it was really unique. I was supposed to be hosting an intern this summer focused on education. So I think that's another avenue of potential that we haven't tapped into yet. But from that, we are partnering with our strategic Foresight team at Autodesk, who really is ultimately trying to understand in like the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what's the environment going to be like, and how can we, learn and create those scenarios and start storytelling. So they had 2 interns come in to work on these convergence scenarios. So what does convergence mean to Autodesk, and what does it mean for our users? And traditionally, the strategic Foresight team had really been taking an inside-out approach. So taking our internal Autodesk experts and, doing research with them to understand and get to these this point of view and these definitions. But we brought in the user perspective. So we took some of our top user group leaders around the world. There were 5 that participated in the research, and their industry insights and their work on the ground really helped shape and drive these convergence scenarios. So there was one in Chicago 2025, I believe. And, it's the tension between the human machine learning and, the person itself, a human working on it, and storytelling through that. You have family dynamics now coming in, and you have 2 people working on it, but a machine that is also driving, the work, and they're not really getting along. They don't think and trust in it. So what are those tech and personal tensions that we're going to have, and how do we create that scenario? So it was really powerful to see and have our industry practitioners and experts on the ground informing what these scenarios ended up to be. And, those participating were very moved by them. It wasn't just like, thanks for letting us participate. It was like, that hit home, like that is me, and that resonates with me. And, I feel that like I can continue to tell these stories to my groups, and Autodesk was they were a part of shaping, how that point of view at Autodesk, which I think is, really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't build Skynet, I'm happy, so we don't get that far in technology with machine learning, so I'm actually on the feedback team, community feedback team, so, and participate in a lot of these beta programs and stuff. So, I was just, while you were talking about that, I was thinking about, man, imagine if Autodesk had like a reality show. You got team leaders, they're stuck in this mansion, all these CAD managers and industry leaders, and they're in there trying to brainstorm. It's a reality show called Autodesk Big Brother. You got
I feel like that's version 2 of your podcast, Tony.
Yeah. That's something I actually have. I'm going to have one of our series, we're going to talk about the daily life of an AutoCAD Expert Elite member. And we're going to follow them for a day or two and see what it's like, so people can understand what we go through as AutoCAD Expert Elites, maybe as a reseller, or you're a CAD manager for a big firm. So that's one of our series we're going to talk about. So and show what it's like, in our lives. What do we do to make it fun? While we're working, with a lot of stress going on, meeting deadlines and projects and stuff like that. But I think that would be, can you imagine all these architects and engineers watching a reality show, Autodesk gurus, and they're stuck in a mansion, they're trying to solve situations for new programs, So, no, I think it's great. It's great. What do you think, Adam? Do you have anything else to add?
In terms of the future of the group network, I think I'm excited about it as a program and as a structure for Autodesk to really build and maintain relationship with innovators throughout the world, and really drive. I think there's potential for groups to do projects and for groups to get involved in open source efforts. I did a pilot project this year with the Autodesk Foundation team to try to get customers involved with Autodesk Foundation projects. It's hard to scale that type of thing, but I'm really interested in how do you build communities that can build things, and the group network is full of a bunch of people that have so much generative potential, and it's kind of if we can connect them, these people in the right way, I feel like there's so much that can be accomplished. I mean, including as Rachel is mentioning, just having a more effective and louder voice inside of Autodesk to shape the direction of the company.
I mean, here's an idea. What if, there's always projects, private projects throughout for bids. What if a network group bid on a project? You got architects and engineers and surveyors in this group network, and they bid for the project and they go and do it, and using, all the resources they have. But, it's actually a good idea.
The future of work is a very interesting thing. So extreme teaming and things like that. I mean, we've seen groups turn into companies before. There are stories of that.
Yeah.
So it's possible. The future world of work is a more flexible thing.
Yep. Definitely. So, the way I see the group evolving, I could see, some of the user groups getting larger and larger, where it eventually becomes an event, where it becomes small AU events regionally, and my goal with the president of the DFW user group is have the network, coordinating with the Austin, I don't know if Houston, I think the Houston one dissolved, but creating one on Houston, and then eventually once a year having all the user groups in Texas, architectural, surveying, whichever industry, and coming together and hosting a small event. But Autodesk has taken part of this event too, and they've actually kind of mentioned to me, why don't you bring all the user groups together, So I am coordinating slowly with other user groups and trying to reestablish one back in Houston again on the civil side. I think there is an architectural side of it already there, but I'd love to see a small Autodesk event in Texas. And then the venture breaks out and you got regions going on, and we're sharing all these resources and ideas with all these industry experts, resellers, CAD managers, power users and stuff. So it's kind of my goal is to have for now, a big Texas network user group with Autodesk participating in this event. So, So that's kind of my personal goal. So hopefully I can make it happen, so, they've asked, Autodesk has actually attended a couple of my user groups and stuff, some of the more on the AEC side of the industry. So, but that is my goal. I do know a lot of the user group leaders here in Texas. So, okay, so share one funny story. If you have a funny story you want to share about, work, or that, that's happened and experience, you think it's kind of funny. So, so Rachel, you want to go first? Do you have a funny story?
Sure. Well, I'll, Adam, if you don't mind maybe stealing your thunder, I'll share the story of us when we were in India. So like Adam mentioned earlier, we were in India together, and we were in Mumbai at the time for one of our colleagues' wedding. So it was really awesome that we were there at the same time of her wedding. So that was my first experience at an Indian wedding. Adam, it was yours as well, right?
I've been to another Indian wedding.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, well, it was, hers was smaller. Yeah, it wasn't as big as the usual ones are, but it was the ceremony day. So, it goes on for a lot of hours. We needed to take a nice walk. So we walked around the corner, and there was a school having all the school children release out after classes. And so we're like, let's just sit and experience and watch this. Like, it'll be really, like, look at all the little ones running around. They're so cute. So they come out of the school, and of course we're the only two white people standing in the street, all dressed up in, our saris and our traditional Indian attire. And one little girl came up to us and talked, and that just spurred everyone else. Like, all of these kids were coming, and there was, the streets were blocked off. We were like circled by all of these kids, and there was almost like a little kid riot happening, and we're taking selfies, and they were like pushing each other around. I gave them my Instagram handle, and it all happened in the matter of 3 minutes. And so that was, it was just quite an experience to cause a riot in the street, blocking off all the cars. Traffic couldn't get through. Kids were falling down. It was
pretty quick.
Yeah.
Shows up. What's going on here?
And it was it just took that one little girl to come up and say hello and shake our hand, and then everyone was just so excited to talk to us.
Like finding the unicorn.
Yeah, we were a little out of place. They definitely knew we shouldn't have been there, but they were so welcoming, and they were adorable. And I'm sad that none of them followed me on Instagram after that. I didn't get those follows, but that's okay.
Adam, do you have a story?
Yeah, the other story that comes to my mind is also a shared story.
Yeah.
Is that Rachel and I worked together. It was mostly Rachel's project to build a tiki bar in the office associated with Christmas. So it's kind of like a Mele Kaliki Maka sort of theme. We had I brought in bamboo from my backyard, and Rachel learned how to lash bamboo, and she created a tiki bar on top of a bookcase. And so you'd walk through the office, and there'd just be all of a sudden there'd be a Hawaiian skirt or a bunch of flowers, and you could make your own margaritas. And we would we hosted events around Christmas time to bring people together in the office and just have fun with that.
That's cool. That's a funny. You got to make it fun while you're at work too. Have a little fun. I've shown people in my office. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I got Star Wars all over my office. Since I'm there almost 24/7, so I basically turned it into a man cave. So light show, all kinds of stuff in my office, gaming equipment. I like playing with gadgets to make it fun. I got to make the job fun. If I just sat there at an empty desk with a laptop and a monitor, I think I'd be bored pretty quick. So I try to make it fun.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, that's what I miss the most. But I love being in the office. Being in the office is one of my favorite things, and working from home has been a huge just mindset change, because I love being able to be surrounded by our colleagues, and especially those that I don't get to work with, but they're the ones that I talk with every morning while we're making a coffee, or we're sitting up by the tiki bar or, going and taking a break to play ping pong. It's definitely just, it's an awesome work environment at Autodesk. And, you have the ability to make it fun and to, bring people together, even during the workspace times. So yeah, I'll be excited and whenever we make it back there to be back in the office.
Definitely, yeah, we're back here. I'm actually at a co-working place, so I'm all about networking. So I'm always networking with people left and right. If somebody's sitting by themselves at a dedicated open desk, I'll just come and start talking to them to see what they do. So I definitely enjoy networking. So I tried working from home for 9 months, and it drove me nuts. I actually went 6 weeks without ever seeing somebody. I just worked, and it literally drove me nuts. Like, I gotta get out of this house. So I tried working from home. Okay, so one last question. I think I got one or two questions left. So if you could learn any Autodesk product right now, which software would it be? If you had the free time to do it, which one would it be? I know there's 100 and something different software in multiple industries and stuff. Which one would it be? Which one do you find the most maybe interesting? Probably hard to decide.
Rachel, I feel like you should go first.
Dang, you put me on the spot. Yeah, honestly, I think I was thinking about this. I was like, which one would it, and the time spent to do it,
Yeah.
and the real. So I'm kind of a rational person as well when it comes to thinking about these. So I think it would be right now Fusion 360 because of being able to 3D print and make all of my own things. So I think that would be one that I would be able to get started doing. And then the aspect of really being able to design something and then go and take that and just have it be sitting like in my room or, on my desk. So I think, Fusion 360 right now would be what I'd say I'd like to learn.
Okay. Adam, how about you?
I kind of like to play God with InfraWorks for a while, but I think to Rachel's point, it's like, not necessarily something that I can take a lot of action on. And that's in my time at Autodesk, the tool set that I got most familiar with was Revit and Insight 360. Mm-hmm. The same thing is kind of true. Like I'm not building buildings a lot.
Yeah.
So for similar reasons as Rachel, I would choose Fusion 360 as well. There's a lot that I can do with it. I want to teach my kids it. There's actually, kind of starting with Tinkercad and then going into Fusion 360. I have a colleague that did that with one of his kids, and that seemed like a really cool thing to do. So yeah, we can 3D print things. It's connected well to CAM, make stuff.
Maybe I should start with Tinkercad.
Ever created anything somewhere at some exhibit hall or something and actually 3D printed something y'all created maybe?
I haven't yet. We have a 3D printer in the office, and I did sign up for a class to be able to take it, and then that ended up falling through. So that was my one chance. I was like, I'm going to learn. It's going to be great. But I do help with the I didn't know yet. We didn't have that planned that far. It was probably going to be something very easy, but we have a Kids at Autodesk Day. So I've helped volunteer. I love volunteering for that. And so I would sign up to volunteer at sessions where they were actually, in the software, starting to just understand how to get a basic geometric shape, etc. So that's the level of my time in a Autodesk software.
Yeah, I haven't done much 3D printing myself, but one of my most cherished Autodesk possessions actually is a 3D print that was one of the first 3D prints that came out of the generative design tool.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
so
cool.
I have that. It was a gift from a person that really started a lot of that movement within Autodesk. Actually was an intern of mine at one point before he got into all that work. So
cool. Rachel, funny you bring up about kids and was it Autodesk? What was it called?
The Kids at Autodesk Day, so CAD.
So I'm going to try. I've actually signed up, started filling my application to be part of the kind of the big brother, big sister here locally in Dallas. Mm-hmm. I want to see if I can, for teenagers, start introducing them to like Autodesk products, and just see if I can be an influence. I'm not perfect, but see if I can influence them, in one of these industries and see which one they would like. but I'm kind of excited about it. I'm actually going to start it in January to be a Big Brother, Big Sister program. So
That's awesome. I wish I had, so like my hometown is definitely very small, and the curriculum that we had, in elementary and high school was at, pretty much the bare minimums. So I think that was one of my passions for getting into, the software tech world, was because I had such limited exposure, and it was, being born and raised in the Midwest, it was always, large manufacturing firms and not necessarily this whole world that was like, building the world, and just a space that I wanted to get into. So it's awesome to, have the opportunity. I think I need to prioritize some more time within Autodesk, like working for Autodesk. I should be using some of the software, or like taking advantage of the 3D printers in the office. So, or our, design and make studios. So all of our different labs, we have that at Pier 9.
What is it called? Is it Pier 9 in San Francisco or something? The big famous place where you go and create stuff. I missed the opportunity. I got invited one time, but I couldn't go because of work. To answer the previous question, I would say the one software I wish I had more time to learn would be like the entertainment software that produces movies. Like I guess Maya is one that produces movie quality. I was like, I would love to create my own little movie, animated movie and stuff. So that's something I would enjoy, is to create my own little comedy, little animated movie or something, a CGI movie. And then the second one is InfoWorks. I love InfoWorks because you can build your own city or town. It's kind of like Sims. So I actually enjoy InfoWorks. Like, man, I can create a whole new DFW Dallas. So download the GIS stuff and then start modifying it. So and bringing in other GIS and 3D models and stuff. So I actually enjoy InfoWorks and creating my own little thing. So one day I actually did download and start trying to create my own little town. That's awesome. But yeah, well, I think that actually concludes all my questions. I appreciate y'all making the time for the video podcast, or for the Expert Elite podcast. We actually have several more series coming, and we actually have a big special event coming in November. So hopefully, maybe y'all be able to attend or watch live and take part of the live podcast. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming out, guys. And I hope to see y'all soon. Probably our next event, once the COVID's gone, we can get back to schedule and do an AU again. So
yeah, definitely. Right. Thanks for the opportunity, Tony. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. So y'all have a great weekend. And